Hello, how you doing? Oh, there you go. Welcome. It's episode 181 of the Pro Synth Network live show on this, the 22nd of September 2023. It's just gone 7 p.m. here in the UK, and the weather's fine. There you go. That's your corporate stuff done. My name's Rob. Welcome. This is 2 hours of irreverent gesticulation and procrastination and just generally easing into the weekend in a synthesizer fashion of some description. But anyway, welcome one and all. I hope you're all well since last we spoke. Of course, the last time that we were on air was Wednesday when we did a sort of live review thing about the Synclavia Regen, and I've put it in a box and I haven't looked at it since because it traumatized me. But if you want to watch that, it's trust me, it's almost 3 hours of people, three men scratching their heads about how they operate this £2,500 lovely thing, which I'm sure is deep and complex and powerful, but it's hidden behind an interface, behind a conundrum, wrapped in an enigma sort of thing. But anyway, that's on our channel. If you want to go and have a look at that, please do. But I warn you in advance, it's not easy viewing. Well, certainly it hasn't for me. I've not watched it back. I don't want to. I don't think. But anyway, that's enough of that. Thank you to everyone that responded to my comments on Facebook, and I really appreciate you all being very positive and very pleasant about it all. But there we go. Right, so we have a live show. We have some news topics to discuss amongst ourselves. Before we meet our resident reprobates, I'd just like to remind everyone that if you wouldn't mind, you can like the show or dislike it, however you see fit. You can comment either over there in the chat or under there in the comments after the live show has happened. I don't even comment during the show. Anyway, whatever. You can leave your comments. Please make them nice. Not about my weight, as some people have done recently. I'm aware. I carry it around with me every day. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That would be fantastic, because that helps. And if you want to pass the links around to your friends, family, loved ones, and other synthesizer enthusiasts, possibly the latter would be the best one, please do, because the more people come along, the more fun we have. So yeah, you could do that. That would be fantastic. If you want to donate to the channel, which is not obligatory or mandatory in any way, you can do so through the YouTube chat and stickers function. You can also use the YouTube thanks function if you are watching on catch up, and if you are watching on catch up, hello, how is it in the future? Hope it's all good. Hope we haven't all been wiped off the face of the planet by falling asteroids or climate change. But you could also donate through PayPal, and the link is there on your screen, but it's also down below as a clickable link in the description. All donations are just incredibly welcome and help us keep the channel on air. That's it. We're a non-for-profit, or not-for-profit, should I say. We're not a charity, mate, but it keeps us going. Thank you. If you want to follow us on social media where you can get notifications of things that we do or interact with other fellow synth nerds, then please do. We are on X, formerly known as Twitter. We're on Instagram. We are on Facebook, which is where the main group is. Please do come and join us there. And of course, we are right here on YouTube. We also broadcast on Twitch and Twitter too, or X, or whatever it's called these days. And also Facebook, we broadcast on Facebook Live as well, so you can comment to us on the live show through those means as well. If you have anything you want to ask us, or just generally comment and something you want to share with us, just put a big capital Q in front of your comment or question. That way we get to see it and we can park it and bring it in at an appropriate time. Right, that's enough of that rubbish. Let's bring in first of all, hopefully he's had time to catch his breath, Mr. Kent Spong. How are you? Oh, he's a bit pixelated there.
Good eye.
You're a little bit rough. Is your internet connection, are you on 3G at the moment or something?
No.
Oh,
All looks fine here.
yeah.
Oh.
Don't move too much, because then it all goes more. No, it's probably just a signal thing. But anyway, how are you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I am
You are.
I am me, yes.
You are. Yes.
I am. I don't know how I'm me, but I am. me. But thanks for asking.
That's right. You're more than welcome. Been busy this week?
Yeah, very, very,
Okay.
very bizarre.
Anything interesting has come through your doors this week?
Oh yeah, I had a guy who with a Memorymoog that had
Okay.
a security code in it.
A security code in the Memorymoog?
Yeah, Memorymoogs have security codes, believe it or not, that
Well,
you
I'll
have
be.
to enter a 4-digit number to be able to change the presets. Now, it isn't always active on a Memorymoog, but this guy decided it was a good idea to activate it and put in his 4-digit code.
Okay.
Then sell it on to another guy, not tell him what the code was. The guy brings it here to get it all spruced up because it was very ill. Somebody had crashed into a tree and left it. And I went to put the factories on it, and it's like, no. So it normally has a default code of 4 zeros.
Yeah, the classic.
And so I put the old 0000, you know, what an idiot has on his luggage. And yeah, nothing. It goes, bad code. So I call the guy and say, you know, you got the code for the Memorymoog? To which he looked at me blankly for a few minutes, and turns out that he doesn't know what the code is. He contacted the guy who he'd bought it from, who said, I can't remember what the code was. You've had that thing 5 years, I can't remember. So,
Jeez.
so I had to find, there is a way of resetting the code to bypass it all, which just makes it all pointless. But it's basically push A, sawtooth in the LFO, and release and hold them down at the same time, and it resets the code to 0, and you can then load the factories.
Oh, wow.
So you go. So this is for everybody out there. You ever across, you know, happen to be on near a stage and somebody's got a Memorymoog, push those 3 buttons and they'll run off laughing going because they'll come back and there'll be no patches in it.
Oh, so it resets the patches as well as
Yeah,
the
it
code?
rips the patches out as well.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I think that the idea behind that, I think, was that Moog, in their infinite wisdom, who decided they were going to put a security code on for factory patches in the first place, goes, well, you can't have his patches because they will be destroyed, so you can't, like, save them out.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll be gone as soon as you push these 3 buttons down. It just overrides everything. It doesn't matter if your protect is on or anything like that. It's like, gone.
Blimey.
So there you go, if you want to cause mayhem
Fun
in the
and
world
games.
of Memorymoogs.
I can't imagine that's a very big world, but
It's a limited prank, I grant you. It, you know, it's a bit like, I don't know, leaving a big turd floating in the space station. Not many people get to do it. You know, with happy birthday and a little candle on it. perhaps.
a bit of glitter.
You know,
yeah.
you know, blow that out for us. And do you know what I mean? So it is a very specific niche prank, but if you have a Memorymoog, try it. It's fun.
Yay.
There you go.
Excellent stuff. Well, there you go. Education as well as entertainment on this show
Exactly.
today. Hey, brilliant. Good to see you, mate, as always. And
hang on.
let's move across to the other reprobate that we have, Mr. Andrew Longhurst.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm okay. I didn't get, as you've probably all
As we could tell.
experienced. Yeah, as you've experienced, my audio has been playing up for months, and a bit like sometimes we do these things. I kept on changing everything and refused to call the manufacturer because I knew I could get it working. I was just bloody well absolutely certain I'd done something stupid or there was a way of getting around it. And eventually I just buckled this week and went, Focusrite, and they said, oh yeah, it's broken. So I'm waiting for a new Gen 4 version of this box to turn up, which apparently has its own power supply, which might fix a whole bunch of stuff as well. But it only goes to show sometimes we can beat up on ourselves over something we shouldn't have done. Which brings me to Wednesday.
No, please don't.
No, it was a good thing. Like I say, you've been. I thought it was a really good thing. It was a very honest thing. I've looked at it since then. We're going to come to it and we can discuss it further. But I thought it was a very honest experience of what most everyone in the chat would have. It's the experience most of them would have. They take the manual and just go, I don't know, and prod and stab and then go, why is it not working? until they had to go into the manual. Turns out it is a beast. It is a real beast, but you need to know it. So it's been an interesting week, and that's why I haven't got the lighting, because I thought if I can't have it all, I'm not going to have any of it, and then hopefully by next time I'll have some more keyboards and stuff up, and it'll be looking lovely and sounding gorgeous rather than this.
Just be careful, because as we found out on Wednesday, certain people were watching and were assuming that all this was just cardboard cutouts. Because we didn't know how to use this thing. Yeah.
That's
This wallpaper's expensive.
Very flippin' expensive.
This costs
and
a few quid a roll, this does.
Yeah.
That wallpaper's got more tiles back up on it as well. What's going on there?
This is why I was off my tits on glue fumes the other night.
Oh.
Because I put them all up and then did a pub, and by the end of the evening...
He was stoned.
Yeah, man.
Dear.
Yeah.
Hey, dude.
Well, they seem to be staying, but maybe that's got something to do with the weather not being so hot anymore.
Yeah, it hasn't been very hot, so yeah.
You wait till it gets humid.
Yeah. Or I haven't had
Anyway.
the 80 on long, one or the other.
No, yeah, true. Yeah. Anyway,
Any old house like.
welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining as always, and thank you to everybody in the other people I want to thank straight away, and they are, I believe they are all present and correct tonight, because I threatened to dock them their wages if they weren't. No, I didn't really, of course. That is, of course, Mr. Andy Brooks, Mr. Synth Addict, or Andy Synth Addict, and of course Ben from Musines, that wonderful, wonderful website which I was scanning through this afternoon whilst having a break on the porcelain chair. So, as you do. So yeah, those three lovely people are our moderators. They have very little to do to keep you lot in line, but they do also post up links to all the things that we're going to be talking about tonight. They don't get advance notice, and I've deliberately never given them an advance notice because I want to see how bloody good they are. And every week they impress me beyond all expectation. And by the time we've mentioned the first thing, the link's in the chat, and I'm thinking, how do you know this? I keep looking around for cameras and microphones, but anyway. So, talking of which, let's actually crack on with the topic. Let's see. Well, there was some interesting hardware news, because you might remember that was it 2 or 3 months ago we talked about Yamaha's sunsetting, shall we say, of the Montage synthesizer, which has been been around for a number of years now and was hugely successful for them, and they brought it to an end. But in the same sentence said Montage is dead, but Montage will come back in October. And we've heard nothing, we've speculated much, and then this week they finally decided to start teasing us with some sneak peeks. Now, a couple of weeks ago there was a leak on some website. It was YamahaMusicians.com. That's where I saw it. I don't know whether that's where it originated. But it's if you are a bit of a Yamaha fan, hello. YamahaMusicians.com is a very interesting website. There's lots of forum boards there still for pretty much every Yamaha instrument, not just synthesizers. If you're a Yamaha guitarist or drummer, it's all there. But Yamaha themselves decided to give us an insight into the new Yamaha synthesizer, which they haven't officially confirmed as being the Montage M, although every image that we've seen outside of Yamaha says Montage M on the box. So we're assuming this it's M6, M7, and the M8 will have an X on the end, apparently. So I don't quite know what that means, but here are the images. They're not brilliantly detailed, I will admit. Let's just zoom in a little bit there.
Robbie?
Yes?
May I make a wee suggestion, which is if you go to the top of this web page, the very top, click on Story. Go to the top, click on Story. Right up there. Boom. Is that the new one?
No, that's the old one.
That's the old one.
What's the old one?
Oh, you fell for it, Andrew.
I fell for it.
Fell for it.
I fell for it.
I got all excited
just
there. I
checking the
thought,
book.
"Oh,
I'll just
I
check in the
did
book,
as
guys.
well.
yeah." Anyway, let's get back to the dark pictures, shall we? So, montage in the dark. Lots of lovely lights. That's going to look great on stage. Montage touchscreen. Some people are speculating that this is proof of the ANX engine that we are all speculating will be in the new montage. That, of course, ANX engine being the analog modeling technology that's been around since this thing, the AM1X. Super Knob makes a return. That's not a name for Superman when you're angry at him. Yeah. But what we can see in a little bit more detail is to the left of the main touchscreen is this second display with faders and rotaries underneath it. So imagine that this is going to be like dynamic. These are all soft controls that will be, assigned to whatever functions are being used at the time. We've also got the ribbon and pitch, bend and mod wheel. These are all fairly standard from the last model. There's a slightly different angle of the second screen. And that was about it. That's all we had. But they did post some audio clips, and I'm just going to play one or two because some of them are pretty impressive. Let's have a listen to Synthpad 2, and I think this actually really does give us a good idea of the analog modeling engine that's going to be in here. I like that one a lot. This one, the grand piano, was very nice. What do you think, Kent? That's a good piano?
That's a nice one. I do fear that both of these were in mono to me.
Well, I'm hearing stereo.
I'm hearing it mono.
Oh well, not much I can do about it.
But it's a lovely sound. It's a nice
lovely
sound.
thing.
It's a very bright Yamaha sound.
The other one that I really liked, I think it was this one. Now, the reason I really like this, and maybe this is open for debate, that sounded like either incredibly good samples, or was that modelled?
Ooh.
Dare I say, it's just that there was such authenticity in that. I know sampling these days is pretty damn good. I don't know. Who knows? Where was the other one? I think it was marked up as orchestra. Or was it this one? Or percussion too?
Really big simulator.
Really big simulator. It's just that the dynamics in that sound, they've either really revamped AWM massively, or there's something going on there.
That's nice.
Isn't it?
You can feel the keyboard on that.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
feel
You
it.
can actually hear the tines being struck.
Now,
Yeah.
one thing that montage users have been crying out for is a drawbar organ simulator, which doesn't appear. There's some really good organs. I mean, it's got FM in it. I mean, if FM's good at anything, it's good at organs. Now, I don't know. Again, that second display with its faders underneath it. If you've got a row of faders, I can't remember how many there are. If there are 8, is it how many drawbars are there normally on a? Is it 8 or 10? I can't remember now.
Well, it depends.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on the organ.
It does.
But if you've got 8, could there be a drawbar organ simulator? That'd be one thing that a lot of montage users have been screaming for a long, long time.
Well, this is why I'm beginning to feel like this montage mix or whatever it's going to be called is like take all the good bits from the montage and take all the big good bits from the Korg Oasis and put them into one box, because that has the sliders and individual knobs, and the sliders also double up as drawbars when you select an organ. Yeah. So, I mean, the sound quality, I'm thinking, I can't help it, I'm thinking modelled. Or it could be a very clever combination of the two, because that's certainly a thing nowadays, isn't it? You know, samples and modelling, you know, best of both worlds. It's just the dynamics. That sounded, that Hans Zimmer sound.
Nothing I haven't heard before, though, to be honest, including with the dynamics.
But in a keyboard synth, this is kind of sample library level quality. Just hearing some of that stuff that's going on there's either some incredibly clever and deep programming going on, or there does seem to be, I don't know, I honestly, I'm just speculating. I mean, I don't think we're going to get what I was hoping for, which was a big CS80 model or something going on in there. I don't know.
Here's the thing, though. I was listening, when you played the first pad 2, or the first, pad sound, the really interesting thing about that synth pad 2 is if that's the quality of the sounds that are coming out, and you're able to do that in hardware in real time, do you need the CS80? Are they saying we don't need to go there? We've got a different engine that does that and a whole bunch of other stuff.
If you make this all about the CS80, it's not going to fly. So
but if you have something that gives you that level of performance, I mean, we still don't know about afternoons or anything like that, but I mean, that sounds like a very, very powerful, wonderful engine doing whatever it's doing. I think we're speculating and hoping and doing all the other things you do, but that pad, that's a great sound. That's a really good sound.
I mean, I know they're going to cherry pick some of the best stuff, and it could just be that this is just the icing, and what's underneath is maybe not as much, not as different as before. I think they'd be rather stupid to do that, and I don't think Yamaha would. But we don't know until we hear it. We're going to hear it and see it apparently in October. That's when it's scheduled to launch. I don't know whether Synthfest UK might be where it's going to happen. It'd be great if it did, because then we could all have a go on it. Well, certainly us here in the UK anyway.
By the way, it's 9 drawbars on a C3.
Okay. All right. So maybe I don't know. I'm just trying to find those other pictures and see how many, because that would be a bit of a giveaway, wouldn't it?
Well, the Oasis has a page button, so you hit the page button, then you get another 8.
thing, because that's a good thing. There we go. Montage, leaked pictures, and now my so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sliders, 8 rotaries above that, and 8 switches above the screen. But I mean, you could do pages, I'm sure. Possibly.
Are we talking a chunk of change here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I just saw Babs in there. So this is all very good, but it's still going to be about $4,000. Yeah, and I would imagine that the 8 is going to be probably north of 5, maybe closer to 6, because it will be like the pre. Well, I can't remember what the Montage 8 was originally. But yeah, I think we're looking at a big chunk of change.
It'd better be MPE at the very least for that.
Well, that's the other thing, you know. Yeah, have they employed MPE? If therefore, have they put in poly aftertouch?
Who knows? But if they haven't at least left all the hooks in there to make it MPE compatible, then they're mad. They're mad.
Yeah.
Although, you know, if they're redoing it from scratch, which it sounds like they are, then it's not going to be that hard to do that with a firmware update. But who knows? Who knows?
Wouldn't be the first time Yami's missed a trick.
Oh gosh, no, absolutely not. So yeah, we have to wait and see. The good news is that I spoke to Yamaha USA and their marketing and PR division, and we will get advance notice of when this is coming. So we'll be able to hopefully be on this as soon as possible, and let people know. And of course, if you are in the UK and you can come to Synthfest, I don't know, maybe that could be there. Maybe we get a sneak peek. Would be interesting.
Remind me again, what date Synthfest?
It is October the 7th in Sheffield at the Octagon Centre. Tickets are available from synthfest.co.uk. I will be there, so will Dr. Manny Fernandez, who will be joining me on stage and in restaurants around Sheffield over the weekend. So, yeah. And with Mrs. Fernandez as well, no less. I have the pleasure of meeting her. So, yeah, Montage M is what we think, because that's what it says on the pictures that we've seen. We shall wait and see. And
what does the M stand for, I wonder?
I don't know.
Money.
Does
Money.
it stand for money? Or
Money. Yes, Montage. Yeah, we have some jokes with that, I'm sure. So yeah, interesting stuff.
Interesting stuff.
I never really got excited about the Montage when it first dropped. Even though it had FM in it, I just thought, oh, it's another workstation. And then I was very promptly told when I was discussing this with a certain Mr. Unwin, it's not a bloody workstation. I can't do his voice. But you know what I mean. And I said, okay, well, tell me how it isn't a workstation. It doesn't have a sweet control on it. Okay, all right, fine, lovely. And he told me all about it. I thought, actually, this sounds kind of interesting. And I've got a Modi X Plus up in the corner there, which I've not been wonderfully impressed with, not from a sonic perspective, just from the fact that it's a cheapish kind of keyboard mechanism with no aftertouch and slightly unintuitive touchscreen interface. Certainly, I didn't gel with it. Hey, it's no Synclavia Regen. But yeah, but I'm going to have to get that out of the weekend, as the actress said to the bishop, because I need to get that ready for Synthfest. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Super Knob is great, though. I do have to say that Super Knob. Wish they'd chosen a different name, but Super Knob is super, and really does, especially if you hook the functionality up to an expression pedal. Then you haven't got to worry about doing this. You can just do this, and then my foot is going at it under the desk. Yeah, so that's quite good. So that's nice to see that they've retained that, because that would be silly. Yeah, I like the live set feature as well. There's a live set feature on it already, but this looks kind of a little bit more immediate. There's lots more direct access stuff on it, but anyway, we shall see.
It's just a shame you're not a Yamaha fan.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, Yamaha. Oh jeez. Yamaha Montage M is what we're thinking it's going to be called, and it will be available soon in October, and October is only about 10 days away. So that'll be interesting. More on that as we get it, as they say. Let's see, what should we do? I suppose the big news of the week, which kind of started as a bit of bad news, but it's kind of turned into some good news, I suppose, is the news. I keep saying the word news, but I suppose that is what we're talking about. It's the news about Modal Electronics. So somebody managed to find on Tinternet this entry in the government's Companies House website, and it showed that an administrator had been appointed just the other day, and that if you look through the history there's a lot of accounts not being submitted, and there's all sorts of things going on, and it didn't look good at all. It didn't look good. And of course, as the internet is so good at doing, news spread like wildfire around, and they go, "Oh, Modal Instruments is dead. They're all going to go again." People, we were talking about it, I think on a pub, earlier in the week, and I know Wagyu was just like, "Right, okay, I'm going to update all of my Modal Instruments just in case the website goes away and the Modal app stops working." And at Gear News, we sat and said, "Hang on a minute, let's just wait to hear this from the horse's mouth." Now, Christian Stahl, who's somebody that I know and lots of other people know from Modal, who started off as a marketing guy there, is now labelled as the interim or temporary managing director. So that was a bit of interesting news. But Christian said, "Look, this is just a step in a process for Modal Electronics to restructure and change things, because obviously financially it wasn't looking great. So this is just a way of sorting that stuff out and
doing a pre-pack buyout."
Yeah, that sort of thing. And he assured us that all jobs would be retained. That was in the plan from the get-go, that Modal will carry on, and it was business as usual and full steam ahead, which was quite interesting. So thankfully, it looks like Modal are still going to be around and still supporting the stuff they've got. Oh, and the other thing was the Carbon 8, which was their new synthesizer, which they announced at Super Booth this year in Berlin, is going ahead. That will go ahead, so Christian says. Now, I spoke to Christian and I said, "Look, I'd love you to come on the show and just tell us whatever you can tell us." Right now, he's up to here with all sorts of stuff, but he has assured us that he will come on the show in the coming weeks and give us a bit of a lowdown. So we will have that coming, and we'll let you all know when that happens. So, Modal Electronics, guys, any thoughts on what has happened over the last few days, and how that affects Modal, how that affects British synthesizer manufacture as a whole? Is this an aftershock from COVID? Is this an aftershock from the Russian invasion of Ukraine? Is this a component shortage thing? Is it all of that stuff? What do we think?
Probably all of the above. An incompetent government in the UK probably helped.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about this is that I think it was Chris at GeForce was saying to me, he said it's almost like they've done, I think they call it Chapter 11 or something, or Article 11, which is basically you go into administration, and what that does is it gives you breathing space to put straight whatever is wrong with the company, or whatever is pulling it down, or whatever it may be, and keeps the creditors at the door and lets you just sort of like get on with things and hopefully come back. Unfortunately, normally when you hear about a company going into administration, it means, oh my God, it burnt to the ground. People were dead everywhere. They just burst in with machine guns and they just killed everybody and all this sort of thing, you know. Initially, you know, the initial was sort of like, perhaps this is what, you know, Modal has gone down the toilet, but it looks more to be like look, we've tripped over. We're just getting back up again and dust ourselves up, and
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna see if we can fix these little areas.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's fine, but what caused it? Yeah, 101 reasons, chip shortages. Even Brexit could have done this because of you know, the additional charges that are on
Duties
anything
and that,
into the country, and the UK is not the first country you think of when it comes to manufacturing electronic components. So everything's got to come in, and there's just additional costs, and they probably just basically was selling less than they were spending out, especially if they're R&D in a new machine at the same time. And they, you know, they backed themselves into a little corner. It happens to the best of us. So, yeah, it probably a whole mountain of different reasons why. They found themselves in this particular position. But you know, that's just, you know, I expect more, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think when people throw words around, and it is, you know, I want to say people throw words around, you know, the words are there to be thrown. Administration, bankruptcy, all this kind of stuff. People automatically assume the absolute worst. And I investigated bankruptcy on a personal level some years ago when I was knee deep in debt, and somebody said, "Well, you can declare yourself bankrupt," and I was, what? That means that I'll be destitute and I'll be penniless and homeless. And no, it's just the name they give to a step in a process that puts a pause on things and lets you try and restructure stuff, and where possible, write stuff off, and where not possible, figure out a way of clearing that up. And that's all this really is. I think, you know, from what we've heard, you know, from Modal themselves, and Christian in particular, is that this is just a step in a process. Like, as you say, puts a pause on, allows things to get, you know, sorted out, and you know, investors maybe, you know, found or whatever. But the plan is there, and I wonder if it might be a management buyout, or, you know, there might be something going on in that respect. Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've looked at their last accounts filing, and I've looked at all the ones previous. The last filing was 2.5 years ago, which was at the 31st of March 2021. It's a bit thin on detail, but it's showing reducing debt. It's showing a lot of debt, but it's reducing. It's showing a lot of stock. It looked okay, but sometimes carrying a level of debt with interest payments and everything else going on, maybe delays with exports, who knows? The fact is, we don't know. And what's really important for a business that's undergoing either restructuring or, trying to work out a better way forward for its finances, is that can't be public. They have to, by the nature of these things, they have to have time and room to talk in confidence to different companies to say, look, this is what we're planning, or would you be supportive of this? One of the ways companies typically will look at trying to work through a debt, you know, a heavy debt burden, is say to probably the biggest debt holder. They'll say something like, look, we're going to go down, you're not going to get anything, or if you will accept a smaller amount, if you'll accept a percentage of that debt, we will package the whole thing up, including all the IP, etc., and we'll carry on trading because we know how to. We've got a plan. This is it. This is our business plan. If you'll accept a small amount of debt, we'll roll that into the new incarnation of the business, clear of all its old liabilities, keep the client base, keep all the good stuff, and then we can then pay that back. So you'll get a percentage, but you won't get it all, but you will get a percentage. That's something that can be attractive to certain companies and individuals. We don't know where they're at, but we know they've got some great technology. They've got some great IP. I wish them all the best. We've got no idea what is going to finally happen, but we'll just wait and see. And I wish them every bit of success as they move forward and try to find the right solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, there were some choice comments going on. I'm not going to name names. I think probably most people have seen things, but there were some choice comments going around that were almost reveling in the demise because of personal opinions being held of, you know, the former, I guess we can say former owners or owner. And I say we're not going to go into that here at all. This is all, you know, just between them and you know, whatever their problems are. I thought some of that was a little bit insensitive because there are other people involved in here, and dancing around the grave of a company is all well and good, but when there are innocent, ordinary people who are worried now about putting, you know, food in their families' mouths and keeping a roof over their head, especially in a cost of living crisis that we are in, I wasn't particularly. It lacked class. Some of the stuff.
It was a very personal. There was a lot
Yes.
of very personal comments, one person to another,
Yeah,
rather than looking at it as a business and saying, you know, does it deserve to have legs? And there's lots of people. You know, it's not just the people, you know, that own it. It's the people that work for them. It's the suppliers that supply them. It's the dealers. It's, you know, there's so many people affected by this, and so many bits of the economy are affected when something like this goes on. You know, you just need to try and be as pragmatic as possible.
In my opinion, Modal Electronics, as it exists today, has two very good things going for it. One, it's got some great products that people absolutely love. The Cobalt and the Argon have done incredibly well and are incredibly liked by the people that own them. Secondly, Christian Stahl is absolutely one of the good guys. I've met him. He's passionate. He's enthusiastic. He's been with the company for a while. I don't personally think it could be in anybody's better hands. So I think that's a really good thing that's going for it. And we just wait and see. And fingers crossed we'll have Christian on at some point, and maybe he can give us a bit more background. But hopefully he'll be there to say Modal Electronics is carrying on. New things will be made, old things will be supported. Well, to a point. I know some people are still upset about certain things on the 002s and the 008s, but hey, they're gone. They're legacy products.
So and don't forget, this happened. You know, this happens. This has happened lots of times in the past. It happened with Sequential and Dave Smith, where it almost disappeared.
Yeah.
And he was spending all of it when he finally had to kind of take the reins. He hated it, didn't want to do it. Did it for as long, you know, but in the end he realized he was the best person to do that role, which meant he wasn't as hands-on. But guess what, he managed to find a bunch of other people that were good at hands-on, and he realized he became an incredible strategic thinker for the business. And that's what's made Sequential fly and do all the stuff with Obi, you know, with Tom, etc. So this is an opportunity. It may not be what everyone thinks is going to happen or what might happen, and no one knows how it's going to work out. But it is a good opportunity, and I do hope they manage to navigate through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Christian, you're right. Christian's a good guy.
Yeah,
He is a good guy.
There we go. Good luck to Modal Electronics, and we'll keep our eye on that one. And say, hopefully, we'll have Christian on in a few weeks. News of next week's guest coming up later on. Stay tuned. You do not want to miss that. So let's see. We've done Yamaha. Is it? I've always wondered. This is just going off on one here, and I was hoping that Wagyu might have been in the chat, but he's not. I think he's out at a gig tonight. If there's anybody that is Yamaha pronounced Yamaha, or is there emphasis on one of the other consonants? Not consonants. Oh, do you know, my head's gone to mush. Syllables. There we go. Is it
Don't
Yamaha?
call me silly balls.
Syllables.
Silly balls.
I just wonder because I was watching something in Japanese, which I was going to put on the show, but I kind of got it too late. We might talk about it next week. Syllables. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I've got that. But I was hearing words pronounced with a different emphasis. And I just wondered, is it Yamaha or Yamaha or Yamaha? Because I just want to know. So answers on a postcard. Syllabubs, yes. Yes, it's the synagogues. No, that's no. So if anyone knows...
don't bring in another one. Just don't. It took me 3 years to pronounce it Moog.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, don't. You mean Mog? You mean Mog?
After a lifetime of saying Moog.
Yeah,
Moog.
Some say Yamaha. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cows go moo, not mo. All right.
We need to get Katsunori-san on here and get him to tell us, because in between just listening to him play, because he's brilliant. Yeah, Dr. Synth, that's a good one. You're showing your age here. Nippon Gakiko, that's what they were.
God. Yeah.
But is it Nippon Gakiko?
Don't
or
even
is
go
it
there.
Nippon Gaki?
Don't even go there.
Trouble is, if you tried to pronounce it the same way as it's pronounced in Japanese, it would probably just sound like you just sound racist.
Yeah, I was having a
You'd
seed
be
or something.
squinting your eyes and everything.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. It was.
So,
Delicate waters.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, so there you go. Anyway, I was just curious. I was just thinking about that the other day, because I know that there are some people who like to pronounce the B word in the correct way. I actually deliberately don't do that because as a mark of lack of respect. But there we go. But I just brought that up, and I just really shouldn't have done
it then.
Yeah, apparently.
Twat.
German thing. Oh, I think that deserves a... right, okay, moving swiftly along. What should we do next? Oh, yes. We had the head of this company on the show a little while back, and we must get him on again soon. Because...
Get the rest of him on.
Get the rest of... Yeah, just not the bits of him, just all of him. Because there's been an announcement from Groove Synthesis. And Groove Synthesis have gotten even groovier, and they've added third wave desktop version, which is identical in every way internally. Does exactly the same thing. There's no compromise there. It's just missing, obviously, a keyboard and pitch bend and mod wheels, and it has a few buttons less, but not many less, apparently. So if you want to have a look at the close-up, you can. But yeah, it's basically there's no compromise. It's a desktop version. Now the third wave has made big waves. Excuse the pun. I think that deserves one of those. I think. It's made a big wave in the synthesizer world. Lots of people absolutely love it. It added MPE support earlier this year. It's a fantastic synth. It's more than just an homage to the PPG wave. It goes way beyond that. It's an incredibly powerful and lovely sounding machine, but at the tune of about £5,000 for the keyboard version. The desktop version will be just under $3,500 US. So maybe we're looking around the $3,000 mark for the UK version of that. But it is an absolutely beautiful thing, both sonically and visually. I've got a bit of a close-up here of the desktop version.
As far as I can see, there's about 30 knobs missing on the desktop.
So
30 plus?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to say that's an interesting use of the phrase "a few less."
A few, yeah. There's
I think there might be some doubling up going on.
There will be some doubling up, I'm sure. But
yeah. So here's a nice close up of the desktop version, in all its glory. But yes, they assure me that there is absolutely no drop in feature set, so it's completely the same. So maybe there is a little bit of menu diving going on there, but there it is.
You see that? But that is a drop-in feature set, isn't it? One of the things that's really good about the Mod 3 is the WAV 3 rather.
Third wave.
You'll
get there in the end.
One of the things that's good about it is a knob per function and button per. You can get straight to it. As a desktop thing, this is nice. It's very nice. But if you've got to go menu bashing and dialing through to get things, it's not as intuitive. It's not as immediate. So that's kind of for me, I've got to say, I would probably sell Kent to get a third wave keyboard. I think he's probably safe with this. It's a lovely thing, but it's still $3,500. And it doesn't have all those knobs and buttons. When I heard about this, I just assumed it would be the front panel, essentially. Everything that's on the front panel, that would have been a no-brainer. Looking at it now, I'm kind of, I feel like I'm a bit cheated.
The buttons look smaller for a start, but that's not bad. I mean, if you look at, and I wouldn't be at all surprised, because Bob Coover, who heads up Groove Synthesis, is or used to freelance for Sequential, and I think he's probably taken a bit of inspiration from their desktop versions of their synths. Shrink the size of a bunch of things, get it into a smaller box as you possibly can, and there's probably going to be some doubling up of buttons and features. Like for example, there's envelope buttons in there. I can see you can select different oscillators, so the you'll need to select one thing and then change it, and then another thing and then change it. It might be a slightly different set of muscle memories required, but you've now got this desktop module, which is, granted, expensive, but it's £1,500 cheaper, takes up less space, and makes a lot more sense when it comes to MPE compatibility, because bringing in the MPE compatibility to the third wave keyboard version still meant you had to connect an MPE controller to it to access all of those functions, because you can't reverse, or you can't upgrade the hardware. Well, you could, but it would obviously be a rather expensive and pointless exercise. So desktop version makes a lot more sense for those who want to take advantage of the MPE capability, in my book. So
it makes sense if you've already got a keyboard and you want to use it live.
Yeah, if you've got
yes, it makes
Osmos,
sense.
Roly, whatever, yeah.
As a programming tool, as a programmer, as a sound designer, I want to have access to all three oscillators. I want to have access to all. I want to have access to all the stuff that's on the original, because I can be tuning multiple
you can have
at the same time.
You can have it.
I know I can go and buy the keyboard, but
Yeah.
I can't. And my birthday's not till next year now.
Well, look,
Christmas.
when Manny saw this, now Manny's got one of these. Manny's got the keyboard version. And when he saw this, his almost instant reaction was, I think I might be getting this and moving the keyboard version on. And I know that
Really?
Manny is quite tight. Yeah, Manny's quite tight for space, but I'm sure that he would have thought long and hard about accessibility. He might have changed his mind since, I don't know. But I'm just reporting. That's what us journalists do. No, but anyway, look, it's a desktop version, and I believe that people have been asking for a desktop version for a while. They hadn't come up with one, and now here it is. And that's very true. There's always one extra knob. I see the Body Electric says, why is the display off center? Good point. But we've made this point about displays, haven't we, where you have to lean over to do that. So maybe just sticking it to one side with all the controls over here means you're not actually leaning over the display at all. That's something that I think needs to be taken into consideration. So maybe that's why they put it on the right hand side. Interesting. Ken, any thoughts on this?
No, not really.
No.
This is a dark rabbit hole for me. I know very little about it.
Were you ever hankering after a third wave?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
So I shan't ask you whether this has increased that hankering or not.
No, the Hydrosynth Deluxe kind of ruined everything for me after that.
Yeah, I get you. I desperately want one. I really do, but I just can't. I can't afford one at the moment at the prices they are. It's simply just not doable. And secondly, I would probably want the keyboard version as well, because I'm not a massive fan of desktop modules, because I don't have a huge amount of desktop space. And in the end, I sort of end up, where am I going to put all these desktop modules? At the moment, I've got a shelving unit that's got about 20 desktop things in it, and I just go and pick out the ones that I want when I want them. But something like this, I'd want it available all the time, so I'd probably go for the keyboard version, and then that's even more expensive. But I am desperate for it, because I love the sound. I love the PPG sound, and I love what this does. It does it brilliantly, but then it goes on and does way more too. So
it's a great synth. I love the format of the keyboard. I'd if I could, I would buy that, but Same reason. You can
Yeah.
you can do all the PPG stuff, but it's got a sound to it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Good question from the Wookiee. How wide is it, and can it be rack mounted? I don't know. We've not had any details in
I
terms of.
don't know.
No, let me wind that back, because I was speaking with Groove Synthesis when this launched, and I got some details, and I'm just wondering if I've missed. Let's have a look. Let me just find that email. Yeah, talk amongst yourselves. Here we go. No mention of size or whether there's rack ears or anything like that. I would imagine no. I would imagine that it's going to be, again, and probably, with good reason, it's probably going to be like the sequential stuff, where it's a little bit too wide and big or deep. And I imagine that all the connections are going to be on the back plane, which then kind of makes things difficult to access. And if you're not doing that, if you're making your connections available in a rack, you would say that it's a rack. So no, I don't believe it is going to be rack mountable. There you go. That's just my hypothesis based on the information that I've got or not got. But anyway, there you go. So that's Groove Synthesis Third Wave is now available as usual. It will ship starting in November, and will be priced at $3,495 and will be available globally from their distribution network. Because you might remember when they launched originally, you could only buy them from Groove Synthesis, and therefore you'd have to pay all the import duties. Now they've got global distributors around the world, and you can buy direct in your location from there. So yeah, there we go. Right, what's the time at the moment? We're about an hour in, so okay. Let's squeeze a little one in, as Mrs. Puricelli would want to say every now and again. Let's squeeze this one. I've got to give this a mention, because I'm always. It annoys me sometimes when I watch some other programs, on YouTube, and something FM comes up, and they said, "Oh, where's Rob? Where's Rob?" Look, I like FM, but it's not the be all and the end all. Right now I'm into analog modelling for a bit, but I admit I am a big FM fan. I am also a massive fan of an artist who comes from Nashville, Tennessee, and his name's Matthew, but he goes by the name of Makeup and Vanity Set. I love everything he does. He's absolutely brilliant, and he's just brought out today a brand new album, and the album is called FM. And he says in the blurb that this is his love letter to the DX7. And it's brilliant. It's really, really good. And I thought I'd just mention it on here because it's a cracking little instrument. There's one vocal track on here, but it's all instrumental. And it is swathed in all of the classic and some not so FM DX7 patches. So yes, there's electric piano. Yes, there's that synth bass. But there's also some of the windy stuff that they did and the brassy stuff. And I'd love to play a bit, Ben, but we would get a copyright claim put through, and I can't be doing with the hassle. I know that we're just promoting, but YouTube doesn't see it like that. So all you got to do is go to Makeup and Vanity Set. That's all spelt in letters. makeupandvanityset.bandcamp.com, and look for it. And you can stream the whole album for free on there. It's also on Apple Music and all the other services as well. Excuse me. And you can buy it as a digital album for $10. And there's also a black, purple, and white splatter vinyl, which I have ordered and is on its way. That's coming out in a couple of weeks' time. You can subscribe to his entire output for $30 a year, and I'm seriously considering doing that now because there's so much output. It's really, really good. But anyway, I don't suppose you guys got to listen to this at all. I did post it around a bit. Did you have a listen?
I did.
What do you think?
Fizz Ting Dong. It's the DX. Fizz Ting Dong. It's the DX sound. Not musically particularly my taste. I felt it was a bit cold, and that's not because it's DX, because we know we can do lovely, wonderful, warm things with it. It's okay. It's a good thing. It went straight back to the 80s, and yeah, it's all right. If you like it, great.
It's unashamedly synthwave for sure. But Makeup and Vanity Set has been doing that for a long while. He's one of the originals, and it's really, really good. And he's done a lot of soundtrack work as well. And you can get that stuff on his Bandcamp. But I just thought, hey, there you go. There's a man after my own heart makes an album with a DX7.
And anyone releasing music, they need support. So giving them a shout here is a good thing. So yeah, why not? Did you have a chance to listen to it, Kent?
No. To be honest, this couldn't have been introduced to me in a worse week. I have been fighting, well, not fighting, that's not the right word. I have been extensively testing a GS1 all week, and I'm so done with the sound for now.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like,
oh, I hear you.
No, thank you. No more clitoris patches this week. Thank you.
So, Steve in the chat, let's just bring this up here. I say Steve, he goes under his handle of Xorb, I think it is. Do we know if he uses hardware or VS? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Maybe I should get in touch with him and get him on the show. Be interesting. But yes, there you go. It's there. It's out there. makeupandvanityset.bandcamp.com. So there you go. Here's something that Kent will like. I know he likes it. I guarantee you he likes it because he's been getting moist about the gusset about this for a little while. Let me just bring up the video first and play you the demonstration of Philharmonic's new Bohemian Viola. That pause because it is so good. Philharmonic's Bohemian Viola is available to pre-order now at a price of $99 US. It's normally $149, I think, or it might be more. If you are already a Philharmonic owner, you get an even bigger discount, I believe. This is a sample library, but it uses very clever techniques that mean you don't have to key switch to get all of the different playing styles. Normally with a string sample library or a solo instrument sample library, you'll have some of the keys at the bottom there to change from one playing style to another. This one is intelligently looking at the notes you are playing and how you're playing them, so velocity and aftertouch and everything like that, and it almost instinctively knows the correct playing style and bowing style for, in this case, that is required for the next note. It's a bit like a DSG automatic gearbox. It studies your driving and it knows which gear it's going to pop it into, ready for you to use that. So it's kind of doing that. It's very, very clever. And their violin, Kent and I sometimes have violin offs on his pub shows where we just, because it makes you sound like you know what you're doing, and I love instruments that do that. It's very, very good. Kent, I want to come to you first on this one because I know you're a big fan of the violin. Have you pre-ordered this?
Yes.
They've also got a cello as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Thoughts?
Yes, it's all of the above with this thing. The violin was when I got the violin, it was fantastic. I couldn't believe that they could make it, that anybody could make anything sound that good, straight out of the box without you having to do anything with it. And then the cello came out, and we had lots of bottom end fun with that one, did we not?
Yes.
And this one, it's same again, just same again. Admittedly, there are key switches. There's some for the playing styles, which are visible at the top.
Yeah, so you've kind of got...
So you've got a motive and stuff like that, and all the rest of it. There are key switches for a lot of the articulation changes. If you find that the, shall we call it AI, picks from an articulation for what you've done, and you're going, no, actually what I would like to do is this. That key change is there for you to enter in to your recording after the fact, to give it the articulation that you did want it to do. So, yeah. So, it's everything you need.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody in the chat was asking how big the library is. So I've just had a look at the violin library, and it's just shy of 26 gigabytes. So there is a lot of detail in there. But I believe that quite compressed, and then when you expand it, it'll go in. So they use they used to have an account, and then used to be able to go and download it from there. But now they use one of these services, and I'm just trying to remember the name of it. It begins with a P. Pulse. There we go. It's called Pulse. You use the Pulse downloader. You put your code in there once you buy it, and then it does the whole, manages the whole download for you.
Because it was a bit of a faff getting the violin downloaded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Originally.
But yeah, I mean, it's just so the full price should be $249. The standard price, or the offer price is $149, and I think the $99 offer is if you are an existing customer, so you get it for $99 there. So I just want to make clear, it's €249 full price, introductory price of €149, and if you are an existing customer, you get a further €50 off as a discount, and you should have an email with that code in there. So yeah, I mean, like you said, the key switching is fairly simple because it's not so much. It's a playing style, I guess. Like you say, emotive, dramatic. I think is another one. Romantic, and then you've also got solo violins or violas. You've got 2. Then you've got an ensemble, which is 5.
Yeah.
So you can switch between those, but for actually just playing the notes, just play, and it will sound amazing. It will sound like you know what you're doing, and I kind of like that. So Andrew,
no special controllers or anything like that is required.
No, just a regular.
But
keyboard.
you can add stuff to it if you wish. But basically, any old keyboard and you will sound
any old keyboard.
Super cool.
Have you tried it with Osmos?
Yes.
Does that bring anything to it?
No.
So I don't think it's MP compatible.
Really. No. The thing is that with Osmos, it's the key depth of Osmos is not indicative. Hydrosynth is much better. Much better.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Excellent. Right, let's come to Mr. Longhurst. Did you get a chance to listen to this? What did you think? Any thoughts?
Years ago, I used to be known for travelling around with a briefcase or several briefcases or cases full of samples for Akai's and Emus and God knows what else. And I always had something like 20 different solo instrument things for violins. So I'd have 20 different solo violins, 20 or 10 or 15 different cellos, and the same with violas, etc. Because that way I could put together some really authentic sounding arrangements, because each instrument was different. And the thing was, each one of them, there were holes in it. You could tell just playing it by itself that it wasn't that good. which is why I needed so many different ones. And you blend them together and put a bit of reverb and pan them around, and you end up with a fairly authentic sound and lots of controller stuff going on. These take that into just a completely different area. What I don't know yet, of course, because I don't have any of these, and I'd be interested in finding out what a package price would be. How many different timbres there are? Do they have different wood sounds, different body sounds? Can you change where up the strings, where you're bowing, up near the neck, further down? I just need to kind of understand some of that for each of these, because if I can create lots of different violins and different violas and cellos, then suddenly I have an ensemble that I can really do stuff with, and that interests me. I don't think the viola. I have to say, right at the top end, I was hearing a lot of keys. I was hearing a lot of clicking noise as it's switching between the notes. Probably, it needed a little work. It wasn't bowing; it was something else. But I like it, and I like the way it did the legato thing. We did that years ago with something else, and the legato does seem to work. Apparently, it's got poly legato as well, which is again another something we had for the virtuoso. But it sounds good. I want to see what it sounds like as an ensemble. So can you actually download and try these out?
I don't. They did do a free version of the violin at one point. I don't know if they're still doing that. Let's have a quick look.
Where are they based as well?
They are based in Czechia.
Okay.
I believe.
I may drop them a line. I love the idea. Essentially, I love the idea of it. The sound sounds good. I like some of the articulations, and as Kent and you have both said, you can sit down and it just feels like you're, I'd like to play with it. I'd love to get Ty's thoughts on this as well. Has he?
I have a feeling he's got these. Yeah. I don't know if they do a bundle. I thought they did do a bundle, but I can't see on there. But as far as the questions you had, so no, you can't change like the physical structure of the violin, different wood types or body shapes or positions of bridges and all that kind of stuff.
So it's because it's not modelling, it is...
Yeah, it's sample based.
And so each one of the instruments is a single instrument that's been sampled to death, yes?
I imagine so, yeah. But what you do have is you have obviously the virtual performer, which is this this scripting that is very intelligent, that auto selects your bow types and legatos and what have you. You have the mood selection. That was the thing I was looking for, where you can choose improv, emotive, assertive, classical, and sprightly. So you can change the behaviour on the fly while you're playing. So if you have a piece that moves from emotive to sprightly, you can just move that instantly. You have a solo, a second violin, a trio, a chamber, a divisi trio, and a divisi chamber. You can blend any forced on bow type or articulation with legatos as well, and then there's reverb to go in and built-in velocity and expression. So it is. I mean, it's one of those things that Kent and I can wax lyrical about it because we've played with it a lot, and you can listen to the demo. But it is definitely one of those things where actually playing with it makes you go, "Oh my god, this actually sounds really, really good." It's there was a demo version at one point, but I have a feeling there might not be any more. But it might be worth reaching out to them.
And do you know? Do they also have any different mic settings for the way that it's been recorded? Do they have distant, far? Close?
No.
No.
No, I don't think so. I'm just trying to remember. I should have opened it up now.
See, I was thinking this would also be good to try in what's his name's is it Simplicity Berlin Studio, where he's got the reverb already set out for I kind of like to try it in something like that as well. But I'm certainly going to take a look.
Yeah, I'm just having a look there. There's no mention of mic settings. It's just
No.
Excuse me. Yes, it's very good. It's very good. I'll put you in touch with the guy I know there, and you can hit them up for some more information. But yeah, Philharmonic Viola, Bohemian Viola, which now completes the trio of violin, cello, and viola, is now available to pre-order. I think starts going out on the 22nd of October. I think that's the date I remember. And you can actually save 40% on all three of those as a package, I believe. There isn't an option to buy one package; you have to buy all three, but you'll get €100 off each one. So there you go. Right, Philharmonic.com. I'm sure they've put the link. Oh, there you go. Ben's just put it in there. So there you go. It's all there. Right. I've got a little announcement to make on a slightly personal, selfish level. So you might recall that there was a guy, and I have to use the past tense because unfortunately he's no longer with us, called Don Lewis, who I was incredibly fortunate to meet virtually and converse with on a number of occasions, and it was a joy every time. And one of my early Sound on Sound podcasts was with Don and a director called Ned Augustenborg, who has made a film about Don's life. And thankfully, Don was alive all the way through the production and got to see the film and loved the film. And it was, it was very well received, and it was first broadcast in America last year on PBS, or was it the beginning of this year? I think it might have been the beginning of this year. It was also available for a short time on DVD. However, as is the way with these things, Ned has been trying to get this out in as many places as possible, especially since, unfortunately, we lost Don himself, who passed away not too long ago. And it is getting its the new cut of the film is getting its premiere this coming October, right here in the UK at the Barbican Centre, as part of a festival called the Dock and Roll Festival. And Dock and Roll is a female-led film festival that shows just music documentaries of all sorts and of all types. And Don's film has been chosen for this. I can't play the trailer because I'll probably get a copyright strike on that as well, because it contains licensed music and all that kind of stuff. But there is a screening followed by Q&A, and I've been invited to host the Q&A with Ned, the director, and Julie, Don's wife, who are both flying in from California a couple of days beforehand, and they will be there for you to ask questions. Tickets are just £13.50, and concessions are available. October 27th, that's a Friday night, East London at the Barbican Centre, Cinema 2. And come and watch the world premiere of. Is that going
to be streamed as well or not?
So at the moment, I don't know, but the good thing about the Dock and Roll Festival is that the website's up all year round, and they have a channel, as you can see, they're called Dock and Roll TV. So I assume they license some of their content that they put on the festival and broadcast it. So who knows? But I know that Ned is working his proverbials off to get this film out there in as many ways as possible. There is a specific website, and I believe it's listed here, or I might be wrong, but it's donlewisleo.com, I think. And Leo is the Live Electronic Orchestra, which was this. I mean, if you don't know the story of Don Lewis, you really do need to. And I would say the best place to learn about it is the Sound on Sound podcast channel, where there are 2 kind of episodes. And Don basically was an engineer. He worked in the military for many years. When he left the military, he got back into his music. He wanted to do stuff on his own, so he built a rig called the Live Electronic Orchestra that was centered around, I think it was a Hammond organ, and then it just built up. So he had a Jupiter 4, an 808. He had loads of SEMs, loads of ARPs. He had an ARP soloist, the original ARP soloist.
Didn't he have a CS as well, didn't he? CS 80 or 60 or something?
I don't think that was part of Leo. He might have had one at some point, but and he was he basically connected all of this gear together to work together. It wasn't just like CV gate. He kind of invented MIDI before MIDI was invented.
That's right, yeah.
And Kakahashi-san from Roland became a very good friend of Don's and was inspired by this connectivity and said, this is what we need to do. And then, you know, Don never ever took credit for it, but you could pretty much say that Don was the inspiration behind getting MIDI, you know, to be what it is today.
What was the Roland exchange connectivity format?
DCB.
DCB.
Yeah.
So he did this before DCB.
Yeah, he was doing this way before, because he was just using his mechanical electrical engineering knowledge to build all these things, and said, well, if this does this, I can connect that to do that. And so he would, you know, he could press go on an 808 and everything would synchronize up and work, and patch changes would happen, and he'd got this custom made like controller at the top with all these different colored buttons that did a whole bunch of things. It is amazing. And if you ever get to go to the NAMM Museum, Leo is there as a permanent exhibit, and that's been there for some while. Not only that, but he also worked for Roland and Yamaha, and in particularly with Yamaha, he was programming factory sounds for Yamaha, you know, the Yamaha DX7, the DX9, and beyond. There's some amazing demos of him using the Roland vocoder, a modern, you know, one of the modern ones, one of the more recent ones. And he does this version of Swing Low Sweet Chariot, and it sounds like
amazing.
A room of 50 people. It's just Don and this. It's just an amazing man, and you're going to be there doing, it says, the Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to screen the film, then have interviews with presumably the director and Don's wife.
Yep, that's it. And I'll be on stage. I'll have some questions, and then I'll be fielding questions from the audience to them.
I'm going to book tickets to this. I'm going to book tickets. I'm going to come.
Yeah. And
sounds like a fab thing to do.
I got to say to my mum, guess what, Mum? I'm playing at the Barbican. And she was very impressed. And even when I told her exactly what it was I was doing, I wasn't playing, I was just hosting a half-hour Q&A or something. She said, oh, I'm still very proud of you, son. So that was a nice moment. But yeah, it's just going to be great to actually speak about Don and get his story out, because he was
an extraordinary man.
He wasn't. I mean, not just super intelligent and gifted musically, but he was so positive. He never didn't have a smile on his face, and he never didn't have a fun story to tell. It was just amazing. If you listen to the podcast, you can hear a smile, and he was beaming from ear to ear all the time, and just an amazing guy. And I'm just very glad that I briefly got to know him, and can support this in this way. There was something else I was going to say. Oh yeah, because the other part of his story is his struggle with the Musicians Union in the United States.
Oh yeah,
because they didn't like the fact that he was one individual playing all of these instruments.
Am I right in thinking, because I seem to remember, I can't remember whether I'd seen him on TV or I heard it at one of the various different music shows or whatever. I didn't realise that the MU in the US had separate sections for years, until relatively recently, for white musicians and black musicians.
And this is again part of Don's story. He fought racism, and he fought, the people that were scared, the technophobes as well, who were scared that somebody like Don could turn up at an event and play everything because he wired it all together. So he won eventually, but it took a lot out of him, a heck of a lot out of him.
Yeah.
But he still, when he talked about it with a smile on his face. He was the most positive human being I think I've ever had the good fortune to meet. And I met Kent.
I'm not positive. Where'd you get that from?
You are. Look at you.
I'm not.
You get up every morning?
He's talking about another Kent. He's talking about another Kent.
The dog gets me up in the morning.
The dog gets you up. All right, then. Yeah. He was as positive as one of your lovely hands. Yeah.
Theory.
Anyway. Tickets are available now, £13.50 at Barbican Centre, 27th of October. Kicking off, what time is it? What time have I got to be there? 18:15. So yeah, tea time, just after tea. Nearest rail station is Liverpool Street. So there you go. If you can't drive down, get the train, get to Liverpool Street, and it's like a 5-minute walk, I think, from Liverpool Street, the old Barbican. Lovely building, lots of brutalist architecture, which I love. So I'm going down early. I'm going to soak it all up.
I used to go there a lot when I lived in London. Yeah, great place.
I might get back into the music library, because they've got a fantastic music library there. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that one in, fill some time. Some other news. Something that has been a long time coming. People have been screaming and screaming about it. But finally, Arturia have released a version 3 firmware update for the PolyBrute. Because it goes on for about 4 or 5 minutes, that video, but you can go and watch that on their YouTube channel. What does version 3 bring to the PolyBrute that it did not already have? Well, I can tell you. It's 7 new distortion modes that include subtle tape, classic distortion, soft clip, worn out tape, germanium, which I still haven't figured out what that means, big crusher, thank you, and downsample. So you've got 7 new types of distortion to go with everything that was already there. Flexible effects routing, which means that you can chain and rewire the effects to suit your flow. Both the insert and send modes can now be adjusted in terms of their order. There's a new stereo layer mode, which allows you to allocate one voice to the left and one to the right channels to give a bit more wider and natural width. There's a whole new bunch of tuning options that allows you to change the tuning on the PolyBrute from tuning individual oscillators more deeply to transposing the entire keyboard to suit particular tracks or styles. Loads of workflow and expression improvements, a whole bunch of bug fixes, and the best one I think so far that I found is the fact that PolyBrute Connect, which is the sister application that you need to edit and use as a library and does all the firmware updates. It was always a bit flaky when you were connecting it, and now it just works every time, first time. So that's a big improvement for me when you're bouncing sounds around between the hardware and the software. Over 350 new presets that all take advantage of all of those new features, and you can check that video out for yourselves. I've had a go with this. I'm liking what I hear so far. I haven't had a huge amount of time to play with it, but the update went in first time. It's really good. Some of those new patches are great, and building on the version 2 firmware, which added some really cool things like last note aftertouch and some other bits and bobs. But yeah, I really do think that this is a kind of a modern day classic, and I know some people ragged on it, Mr. Unwin. But I think even he would admit that it does really, really well. But I love this as an analog polysynth, and I think this is a long overdue update and very welcome indeed. Any thoughts on this, gentlemen? Don't rush. Go
I
to
haven't
Kent
got one,
first.
so I don't know. Sounds good though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like the sound of it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds nice. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, good. It seems to... I think updates that give you a little bit extra here and there is always a good thing, no matter what it is. You know? I must admit, though, I wish that... You know the Arturio app?
Yes.
I wish it would stop telling me every 10 fucking
Is that
minutes.
what's pinging in the
Yes.
background?
Every 10 minutes go, there's an update for PolyBrute. I know and don't care. Stop it. Now go away. So
You can switch those off.
yeah, but then I don't get the others.
But then what is he going to moan about?
Yeah, I've got to have something to moan about. That's right.
That's true. That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll install it on the Mac as well then.
Yeah, and you get it in stereo.
And get it bing bing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Andrew, any thoughts
Cool.
on the PolyBrute?
I've lusted after one since they came out.
So why haven't you got one then?
Yeah, because I've been building businesses and doing things instead, you know.
Failed.
And yeah, all my money has been soaked up in business stuff. However, you know, I am going to do some splurging at some point. PolyBrute, I loved in version 2 that they put in the last note aftertouch, essentially duophonic aftertouch.
Yeah.
It's a great feature, and it's another way of articulating. I just love the sound. I love the sound. I love the layout. I don't know what Ty's got against it, but I think it's a gorgeous thing, and I may have to come down and move in with you, Robbie, because you've got one. It's a lovely thing, and I think the new distortions, yeah, they add something to it. There was less in this upgrade than I was expecting, I have to be, if I'm brutally honest, but there's a bunch of new presets, which is good. People have got used to it now and are coming up with really amazing creative sounds. I mean, I'm not quite sure what else one would expect from an update.
Well, yeah,
from
I mean,
analog synth.
Yeah.
You know.
One of the interesting things is that it's covered in controls, and sometimes there's not, or there wasn't, any indication of what you were doing, how much you were doing it by on the display. There's a lot more of that now. So literally everything you touch will have some corresponding information come up onto the screen that is useful. So that's a nice little
That
addition
feedback's
as well.
good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'd very much like. Would you like one, Kent?
If it was given to me, yeah.
I want the wooden legs for mine. They just look amazing.
What a weird request.
I know. They do wooden legs for it.
I just meant. I thought you meant all the time.
A friend of mine's got 2 wooden legs. His house caught fire recently. The house was fine, but he was burnt to the ground.
Push that button, Robbie. Push the button, will you? For Christ's
Okay.
sake. Wow.
It's a lovely thing, but then there's so much else out there that is. I just love the brute. You know, the whole thing of it. I'd even have the mono. You know, I think
the Matrix Brute is very nice.
A Matrix Brute is a wonderful thing. So, yeah, it's a lovely thing. It's a lovely thing.
It's a 6-voice analog poly, and I know that when they brought it out, even I was saying 6. Come on, at least do 8. But since having one, I've never gone, oh God, I wish we had more voices. It just doesn't happen. It's such an expressive synthesizer as well. You know, the ribbon, you've got that Morphe, which allows you to have X, Y, and Z control, and it's sprung well. It just feels nice. It works really well. Last Note Aftertouch as well was a really nice addition to the last one. It's so well built, and it sounds amazing. What do I know? I'm an FM guy.
I love the fact that it's got handfuls of knobs everywhere, and it's analog, and it just. I was a bit puzzled, I have to say, by you can now allocate a voice to left and another one to right. You mean like channel 1 and 2, which you pan left and right? I'm a bit sort of puzzled by that. Is it freely pannable, or it's one's left, one's...
Honestly, I can't say because I haven't tried that feature yet.
Okay.
You see, I've had very little time, and then after Wednesday, I just kind of decided I'm not going to touch anything for a little while. But yeah, it's no. I'll have to look into that one. Yeah, you allocate one voice to the left channel, one to the right, and it apparently adds increased natural width.
It would be good if it Bluetooth connected to your washing machine, so you could play your washing machine from it. That would be good.
Nice,
that would be great. That would be the kind of update I'd want. Yeah.
But no, the distortion modes are that's kind of the big headline thing. They are very nice. They do give it a little boost.
Imagine a Leslie from a tumble speed of 1600. Imagine that. That would be good, wouldn't it? Leslie. That would be brilliant.
Yeah.
See? People just aren't thinking clearly enough yet about these kind of opportunities. Internet of Things.
Yeah.
Oh.
Indeed.
I can see Kent's
Anyway.
going to go and build one.
Yeah. PolyBrute version 3 firmware. If you are a PolyBrute owner, it's free of charge. If you're not a PolyBrute owner, be prepared to get notifications all the time, apparently, for the update. But yes, it's a lovely thing, and I think it deserves more love than it probably gets. But then, yeah, be interesting to see what they do next in terms of analog hardware.
Interesting.
Hockey-docky.
Hockey-docky.
So that's that. So that kind of just leaves us with one topic, and I don't really want to go over this, but I thought no, let's do this. So, if you're not already aware, we did or should I say, I did, because these guys turned up, but they didn't have to. I was just quite happy to do it solo, but I'm kind of glad they showed up. So we did this thing on Wednesday where I've been sent a Synclavia Regen, which is this new £2,500 odd synthesizer from Synclavia, who have been reborn from the ashes. Cameron Jones is still at the helm, and it's this quirky looking kind of square desktop synthesizer with a lovely colourful LCD screen and lots of buttons on there and stuff, and the promise of much. And I thought it would be a good idea to not prepare anything in terms of familiarization and orientation around the machine, and live on air just take it out of the box, unpack it, plug it in, connect it, and see where we went with it. And I think it would be fair to say that over the nearly 3 hours of that stream, we didn't get very far. We got to learn what it looked like, and we could go through the presets that are packaged in with it. It took us a while to realise that you needed the SD card or an SD card, because none is supplied. That was a little bit of a shock. And then we put the SD card in, and we still didn't really kind of get into creating a sound from scratch.
From scratch, yeah.
Which is something I kind of wanted to do. Normally on a synthesizer, you just hit init patch and go from there and start building a sound, whether it's an FM or an analog, subtractive or something like that.
Init patch.
Init, yeah, init though. And so anyway, that's what I tried to do, and I categorically failed. And I was up until 2 o'clock the following morning, just sat here thinking and ruminating on it. And I wrote an apology on Facebook, for a rubbish thing, because it didn't go as I planned. And loads of you replied and made me feel quite a bit better about myself. And you guys as well, you two, were very supportive. And I know that I kind of, we maybe did achieve something. We achieved the demonstration of how this is a very complex, complicated synthesizer, and not for the faint of heart. And you really do need to learn it, read the manuals, go through the tutorials before you even. It's not a synthesizer you can take out of the box and mess around with instantly. However, I do believe that lurking inside that odd-looking shape is a very powerful synthesizer. I have no doubt about that whatsoever, but it's just getting to it. And I was kind of disappointed in that, as I thought that maybe it would be a little easier, but it's not. sounded amazing. You know, when we were hearing the sounds, it was really, really good. The quality is absolutely there. It sounded like you would expect a Synclavia to sound, but it was just. Anyway, so I just thought for the last 20 minutes of the show, we might just want to talk about our impressions of it. I mean, you all probably know what mine was, and I don't want to relive that experience too much. But guys, I just thought maybe you would like to sort of say how you felt about it and what you think. You know, is it worth the $2,500? Yeah. Whoever wants to go first may go first.
Go on,
Was it? Okay.
Go
Fair
on.
enough. I remember the first DX7 almost the day it came out, coming into a studio and playing it and going, wow, these sounds are good, because no one had heard anything like it before, right? And I'd been working with the Memorimoogs and 2600s, and I had a Transcendent and Oberheims, all sorts of things. So I knew synthesis. I knew how synthesis worked, right? And so I thought, well, I'm just going to dive in and start creating some new sounds, because I never ever leave I just have my own sounds throughout everything I own. And this was like that. It was so alien. The DX initially was such an alien thing. I thought I could get to it, and within 10 minutes I'd be writing my first preset, and I kind of was, but I didn't know why it was sounding like it was. I had no idea about it, none. And it took a while. And I think Robbie probably had, and many of us have had the same thing when you first faced all those years back with a CMI, with a Fairlight. You look at it and go, I can see, that's the pretty picture I've seen. How did I get that up? What? There's a light pen. How does it work? And just calling up a sample, you play it across the keyboard, but you don't play it polyphonically, and you have to assign it to an output, and you have to, all this stuff you don't know until you read the manual, right?
Yeah.
This is like that. Now the thing is, having looked at it closer now, and having looked at some of the reviews and whatever's on YouTube, I didn't realise it also does. Oh God, my brain has gone. Frames, granular. I didn't realise it did granular synthesis, and it does sampling, and you can use samples as part of the FM. You can modulate FM and samples together. This is deep, and it's got. I didn't, the other thing which wasn't immediately obvious, I was a bit confused by what the 12 buttons were. You went, okay, there's 12 parts. What does partials mean, and what are timbers? The language is slightly different. A timbre is essentially a preset, and you can have up to 12 presets running. You can have up to 12 different partials in a timbre, and you can route and modulate stuff in all sorts of weird and wonderful ways. I know that this is going to get a bunch of updates, firmware updates at some point, because there's so many more things you can do with it. It's a software-based instrument. The modulation thing is good, but it could do with a little more clarity for things like, I remember when we were doing this, both Kent and I sat up at one point when you were scrolling through the one of the partials, and it was the most outrageously wonderful sounding PWM sound as you're going up and down. I'm thinking, how do I modulate that? I just want that. I want that to be my first bit, and then I want to start building on that and have slightly So I was intrigued, and I have to say, having come away from it and looked at it some more, I think this is an enormously powerful synth, but I don't think you can get to it without picking up the manual and reading it. So for everyone that was watching and everyone that's here, I think you did a really, really good job, in that you did what all of us would have done, and all of us have done. You pick up something, you don't look at the manual, because, hey, guess what? We know synthesis. So I think you did a great job. I think it's a remarkable looking instrument, sounding instrument. and I really want. I'm intrigued enough now that when the first one comes up, available for hire anywhere or to beg, borrow, and steal, I'm going to bring it in and play with it because I think it's going to reward thorough exploration.
Yeah,
I really do.
yeah. Which I mean, so I only got this until Synthfest on the 7th, which is when So if anybody wants to have a go on one of these, come to Synthfest UK on October 7th at the Octagon Centre in Sheffield. There will be 2 of these, and Craig will be there on the stand, and you'll be able to encounter what I did, and hopefully people will come away going, geez, yeah, he was right. But also you might get an appreciation for this. I thoroughly believe that in that box is an enormous amount of sonic potential. It's just how you get there, and it is one of those things. So I'm hoping that after Synthfest, Craig might say, do you want it back for a few more weeks? And then I might be able to spend a bit more time with it, and then do a follow-up and say, hey, everyone, look, this is what you get when you read the effing manual. When you watch the videos and you understand how it works, this is how you do it, and that'd be really useful. But yeah, Mr. Spong sat there all casual like.
Yes.
What were your thoughts?
Well, it could definitely do with an update straight out of the box, to be honest, and that update would be to the manual. The manual was difficult to negotiate. Funnily enough. Subheadings were sparse, so you had to try and guess. Like, for instance, when you were trying to load an initial sound into the card, so you can't have an initial sound in the synth. You have to have a sort of like a file framework on the card and bring it in to work with. From what I could read from the manual.
Yeah, you have to have a blank something to bring in.
You have to have a blank something
from.
there before you can start. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it's very vague to me now, but I had to do I worked on a Mark 1 Synclavia with a Winchester drive that was about the size of a washing machine.
Yeah.
I think it was an 80 meg or something, with one of those big sort of like cake stand covers. You put it in, twist it, and close the lid and all sort of thing. And then you had the keyboard with all the buttons on it, and of course the big super knob. I don't know why. I think the Regen doesn't have the super knob because it just isn't room for it.
But you can buy it separately, can't you?
Can you?
Yes, you can buy the knob on its own. Sounds fun, doesn't it?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Whatever then. Fine. Okay. Yeah, that wouldn't work in a brothel, would it? No. Anyway, so, and I simply wanted to load a patch from the Winchester into the module system that the keyboard was connected to, and it took 3 days.
Jesus.
It took 3 days for me to work it out. I spoke to a guy who had bought it, because it was this is when Coldplay were earning lots of money, and they bought this thing. They didn't know anything about it, but I phoned him and I said, look, I said, how'd you get a sound on it? He goes, oh, we don't know. We were hoping you could tell us. And it was like, so I got Steve Hills down, who just went, yeah, what you do is this, and this, and there you go, and then it plays. And I go, sorry, what? What did you? Sorry, what? Can I film this so I can see what you did? He said, well, he said to me, with Synclavia, forget anything you've ever known about any other synthesizer that you've ever been near in your entire life. The approach to working it comes from a completely alien angle from anything else you've worked with before, and the way it works. So, the fact that you actually got that playing something in those 3 hours, well done. Because there would be many of us there, literally just sort of like, feck it and throw it back in the box. So I wouldn't.
Which is what I did after the show.
Yeah. Bearing in mind, it took me 3 days, but I had to get one of the world's specialists to come down and show me how to do it in the end anyway. So, fear not, young man.
No. Well, it's I don't know what to say. I put it back in. I did literally put it back in its box straight away, and it's there, and it's staying there behind me. I don't want to look at it because it just traumatized me a little bit. But I will go back to it, and if I can spend some more time with it, I will.
I love the fact that I'm looking at the manual right now, as Kent did the other night, and it is kind of impenetrable. But it says the very first phrase in here is, Synclavia Regen was designed to be intuitive, so users with previous synthesizer experience should become productive without extensive reference to this manual. But at some point in your journey, it's advisable to read it. The very first thing you want to do with a synthesizer is start from scratch and build a sound up from scratch.
Yeah.
And it at the end of the first chapter, it says there's a cheat sheet which says to do anything that will get you started for everything. The one thing it's missing is how to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's annoying. It's been written by someone who is a technician and who knows it well.
Well, Cameron was the genius behind it. I don't know if he's written the manual, but yeah, it's a very. I mean, look.
But all of that to one side.
Yeah.
I'm still intrigued. I'm still really, really intrigued.
You know, the original came out of a university lab. You know, it is and was. You know, the originals and even now is still a very complex thing that can do stuff that other things cannot do. Does it really well. Some people are saying in the chat we should get Anthony on, and Anthony will be coming back. We've already spoken. Anthony shall return. By the way, there's a really cool video with Anthony at the moment. Dr. Mix went out to LA to see. Yeah. I mean, this shows the difference, doesn't it, between our channel and a channel like Dr. Mix. We get him in on across the internet. Claudio just flies out. I mean, yeah, great, fantastic. No, we will try and get him on, and maybe we'll have it here, or maybe he'll have his. We'll sort that out. Yeah, there's also some people arguing about how you pronounce it. This is something we've always discussed. Cameron Jones, so the guy that basically founded the company and invented this thing, he says Synclavia. That's how he says it. So if he says Synclavia, that's how I suppose it should be pronounced.
Oh, not another one. Not another one.
Another one, yeah.
That's three now.
I always use Synclavia, but he says Synclavia. But some people say Synclavia. But there you go. Anyway, it was fun in a way, painful fun. But I suppose in a way, if I do end up not mastering it, but at least being able to cajole it into doing some things, that it will be an even greater sense of achievement. Manny says clay. There we go. Yeah. So it's Synclavia.
Some people say annoying box of shite. It doesn't matter.
Annoying complex box, yeah.
Yeah, annoying complex headache in a red and black box.
Yeah. Indeed. I mean, it's a lovely thing, and I hope to get to the bottom of it at some point before it drives me to the bottom of the bottle.
The Regen.
Yeah, just call it the Regen. Yeah. There's the knob, by the way. He says.
Yeah.
There's the knob. 248 quid for the knob.
Wow.
But that will work with this. It will also work with the iPad version.
For $2,500, it should come with that and an SD card.
Well, that was the one thing I was slightly surprised about. The absolute requirement for an SD card, and they don't throw one in on a £2,500 machine.
Even a little one.
Yeah.
But something.
Yeah, to get you started. Yeah.
With in-it patches.
I shall be feeding back. Yeah,
Good man,
I shall be feeding back. But yeah, there you go.
Can we take a moment here though, just to just briefly talk about what came up in the chat about what's happened at Moog?
Yes, I am way ahead of you.
Oh, good man, good man. It's just I read that and I just went.
So it's kind of bouncing around on social media this evening.
Kind of expected this.
Yeah. So I have to be careful here because I got some information from the inside. That's all I'm going to say. And this confirms, basically. So yeah, it's being reported online. It's nothing official from either In Music or from Moog Music division that this has happened, but it looks like everybody, or almost everybody, has been laid off in some shape or form. The place is still open, apparently, according to this, which is on. I'm going to have to give credit here to Tom Weiss at synthanatomy.com. Thank you for that, Tom. This is just off social media. Apparently the Asheville location will remain for now to make just a limited number of the higher end products, but it looks like everything's going overseas, and it's not a surprise, is it? It's a sad thing, but it's just not a surprise after obviously In Music took over. So yeah, there you go. That's the news.
It's what we suspected would happen.
Yes.
Well, yeah,
Exactly.
but not to that degree, strangely enough.
And as quickly, maybe you would have thought it might have been a phased approach, but I guess if you're hemorrhaging money, maybe as quickly as they might have been, allegedly, of course. Yeah.
And if you can put out mini Moogs at badged mini Moogs at X price. I don't know what price they would be aiming at, but if it comes out at a reasonable price, people will go and buy them. Possibly. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, indeed. But sad news. So somewhat expected after what happened recently with the takeover, or the buyout, should we say? So there you go. And I guess when you're in business and you're selling things, you got to sell more to pay the bills, and you've got to make them cheaper to make, cheaper to sell more. Kind of capitalism, eh? There you go. So we'll see how that develops, and we'll wait to see if an official statement comes from somewhere at some point. And when it does, we'll let you know, either here or through our Facebook page where we are normally hanging out. There was one other bit of news that I was made aware of this morning and then completely forgot about until just now, and that was the news that a fire broke out at the Bosendorfer factory was it early this week? Destroying an entire building, and according to this report on Classic FM of all places, it was the best reporting of this story I could find. Over 100 firefighters on the scene, and it destroyed much of the company's business archives. Now, I'd heard the word archive, fire and stuff. I heard all of that this morning, and I thought, oh no, don't tell me it's gone through a part of the factory that stores some of their most illustrious, amazing pianos that they've made over the years. But apparently it's just huge amounts of business paperwork. Now, whilst there might have still been some fairly valuable documents in there, thankfully it was only documents. I don't believe anybody was hurt, but it took a lot of people and professionals to put all of that out. Apparently the damage is likely to be in excess of €300,000. But yeah.
So the cost of one piano.
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
It had one piano in it.
Yeah, they'll make. Yeah.
So they're going to have a fire sale?
I really need to put all of those sounds on one button, because right now I have to press 3 to do all that. Yeah, so thankfully it's not as bad as maybe first thought, although we don't really know huge amounts of details, but it looks like it was just a whole bunch of paperwork. Maybe it was the accounts, and maybe they're trying to hide something up. I don't know. No, that's a purely conjecture. Allegedly. No, it wasn't that.
So is that hot off the press?
Oh,
God. He's here all week, ladies and germs. So there you go. And that kind of neatly took us right up to the hour. Look at that.
There you go. Look at
Amazing. It's almost like we know what we're doing. Almost. I just want to give a big shout out, because I haven't. Andrew Brooks, thank you very much indeed for your £5 donation. Much appreciated. And good old Cobber Steve.
Stephen.
More $50 thank you very much indeed.
Is it £1.18, 17, 16, 19?
Has it gone up or down? I don't know. But it's it's very gratefully received.
It's very gratefully
nonetheless.
received.
So thank you very much, Stephen. I hope you're feeling good. Thank you very much indeed. Let's just see. Oh yeah, some comments on the Synclavia video. This one from Half God, Half Beast. You sold the manual very well, Robbie. Yeah, thank you very much. As your head, to be honest, a help button on a synth should be a warning. Very true. And we'll end on a positive one. Steve says, I enjoyed it, and I hope you guys do more cold unboxings. And maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's going to be the ProSynth Network, I don't know, gadget. Is cold unboxings. That's what we do now. We do cold unboxings. That actually, has anybody done that? Like, they get sent equipment or buy equipment.
You
and they
have.
Don't, well, I've done one.
You've done one. We could do cold unbearings.
Well, yeah.
Oh, no.
Nice.
All right.
Well,
it
I
wouldn't
could
work,
do
wouldn't work.
Yamaha's fingering thing.
Excuse me.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah,
The finger drums.
Finger drums.
Yeah, we could do the finger drums.
And then the Behringer System 55.
And the System 55. Cold
And I've got the
unboxings.
Easy Play coming.
Yeah.
Easy Play 1 when that arrives. We could do that.
Yes. Well, we could
That'd be
both do
fun.
it because, yeah.
Mine's coming a month after yours.
Well, that's true.
My gas bill.
Your gas bill.
Could do that. Yeah, that's good.
We can all have a laugh together.
Cold unboxings.
Yeah, wait till January to do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the January one. Oh.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben.
And then
Hot unboxing.
you might find your energy bill archives have suddenly gone up in flames.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose if you call it hotboxing, you would get more people watch it.
Oh, hot boxing.
Let's brainstorm that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or just
but we
brain
won't
each
call
other.
it hotboxing.
No.
Opening shit without doing any research. That's what it is.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think cold unboxing
Well, that should be the
falls off the tongue a
subheading.
little bit better. Yeah.
Probably the sub.
Opening shit. Yeah. Cool. Maybe,
I'll go with that.
maybe do it with alcohol. Yeah. As I
That would
said.
be good. That's
Well,
all.
you
That's
two
never a
can.
bad thing. Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
two
Yeah.
can.
All right.
So you drink
Yeah.
the alcohol. I'll open something. You two
And we
drink,
drink. Yeah,
and
we like,
poke fun.
Where's that bird?
He's my best friend.
Yeah.
I love him.
Cold unboxing. I like that. I might actually retitle the Synclavia Cold Unboxing.
Yeah. The Synclavia. As in the
Synclavia.
booze and do for.
Booze and Duval.
Yeah.
The Doofa, yeah. Anyway, that's a show, gentlemen.
Yamaha.
Show.
Oh,
God, we
Yamaha.
got through one.
We did. I look at the list and I think, how are we going to make 2 hours go with that? And then we always do. We always do. Thank you, as always, gents. It's been a pleasure, as always. I won't ask you what you're going to do next week unless you've got something new and different, because most of the time it's the same old, same old. Have you got anything different and exciting that you're doing next week that we should know about?
Well,
Well, I am, but
No.
I can't say anything.
Oh, there you go.
And you
So
know
it's-
it. You know I can't say anything about it because it's going to be a surprise.
oh,
I've forgotten already.
Good. That's the NDAs I like.
No. Oh.
Yeah.
oh.
Yes. God's sake! And I thought I thought it was my memory. was up the shit.
Oh, yes. See, this is my memory. Thank you, Ben. Lifesaver. I mentioned next week's guest.
I knew there was something.
Yeah, I didn't tell you who it was. We have got Brad Holland from Isla Instruments live on the show with Mickey, a programmer that works there.
Mickey.
Mickey will she'll be joining us. So we've got Brad and Mickey, and we'll be talking S2400, but more importantly, we'll be talking Caladan, which is the new synthesizer, which has different cards in it to do different things. So there's like an FM card, there'll be an analog synth card, there'll be a wavetable thing, and other bits and bobs. And yeah, so, and he's got one. Apparently, Vlad, his the guy that does all the coding, has got the hardware running really, really quickly now. As in, not running in terms of speed, but he's managed to get it up and running quicker than normal. So that's good. Also, third generation of DSP card for the S2400 has the prototype arrived and it worked straight out of the box. So that's now going in. If you are in the market for buying anything from Isla Instruments, make sure you watch this show, not only to get the latest information, but Brad said and I've got this written down. Brad said he will be giving out some codes for discounts.
Woo.
So,
Wow.
yeah, and we're not just talking pennies here. So, yeah, do join us next week when Brad will be here along with Mickey, and we'll be talking all things Isla Instruments. And Brad's a proper laugh. He really is hugely entertaining. So, and we might even have some other people join us who have experience with Isla Instruments as well. So we'll see. But definitely Brad, definitely Mickey coming on. So, yeah, make sure you tune in. Same time, same place next week, for all of that, and look forward to it. Have a great weekend, everyone. Don't know what you're all doing, but have whatever it is. I hope it's good. I'm prepping for Synth Fest still. Got to load all Manny's patches on because he finally sent me the final version. No doubt he'll tweak it again.
There's no such thing as a locked patch.
There's no such thing as a locked sound set. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Unless you have a regen.
Yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Yeah, we'll see you same time, same place next week with all of those lovely people. And until then, have a fantastic weekend. Love you and leave you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Au revoir.
Bye.